This is Sessions with Sara Cate and Ashley, a podcast that explores the feelings, emotions, and experiences of what it means to be human in this world. This podcast is intended for educational purposes only and is not meant to replace therapeutic services of any kind. Please refer to the list of references if you need support.
And before you dive in, please like, subscribe, comment, share with anyone you think might also connect with today's session. Our goal is to reach as many people as possible, and we are endlessly grateful for your continued support. So, let's get to it.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to another Sessions with Sara Cate and Ashley. I am Sara Cate.
I'm Ashley.
And we are back with some more delicious, delightful discussions. Going for some alliteration today. Around a topic that you'll probably be surprised, not that we are talking about, the body. Ashley, what are we going to dive into today surrounding our bodies?
Well, we're going to have a discussion. We're going to attempt to answer the question if we should love our body every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like what I work with my private clients is the love or the whatever feelings they have towards their physical body. And I'm so passionate about it because we get a lot of crazy messages from like the self-love crews out in the world. And I mean, I'm
Body
never gonna
positivity,
huh?
the body positivity movement.
Yeah. And I'm never gonna like we need body positivity and we need body acceptance and we need these movements, but I just want to like take a pause and help people move through that movement, because really what it comes down to is your personal definition of love and what that is. And when we think about when we love somebody else, it doesn't mean that we like them all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah.
I think there's a really big distinction that we need to make.
Mm-hmm.
There's, in my personal definition of love, respect is always part of it. And so when I think about loving my body, it doesn't mean that I like it. I like every single aspect of it every single day.
Right.
But my goal is to get to the point where I respect it every single day, because just like Sara Cate deserves respect from me, I deserve respect from me. And I think that that is something that gets missed in these conversations, and it turns into a lot of like toxic positivity, or that we can just like mantra ourselves out of this. And it's really hard to mantra ourselves out of something if we don't know it. And so if you don't know your body, it's really hard to respect it. It's really hard to get to the place where you can say, yeah, I do love my body. And I know that because I love my body, that some days might be a struggle for me to like it. And that doesn't mean you're a bad person, or that, you're intentionally trying to hurt yourself.
Yeah. And what I think when you say toxic positivity, I think to flush that out a little bit is important here, because I love that you said we need the body positivity movements and we need that self-love, self-connection. However, the toxic positivity, when it tips into that toxic state of like overriding, bypassing, gaslighting ourselves, right? Like not actually giving permission. Ashley and I are big on having conversations about allowing what it is that you feel, not trying to change it, distort it, shame it, shut it down, but just really giving permission for whatever is there to exist. And I think it's easy to generalize things where it's like, I either love my body or I hate my body. I either, think it's amazing or I think it's awful, when really, to Ashley's point, every single day could be a different experience with that, and I think about my clients with chronic pain in that, and people who have autoimmune circumstances, because it is a day-to-day basis what their body is how their body is gonna show up. And so for us, exactly what you're saying, like trying to mantra them into loving their body that in some ways consistently betrays them or hurts them, and it really can be it can bring in more shame because they're not able to get to this place of acceptance and love and whatever it might be, because they're
Right.
in this constant discord with it.
Right. Yeah. And I wish I've said this a million times, like, I wish that we were taught about our bodies from the time that we were born, right? Because we move into our teenage years and our adult years without a true understanding of how they work and why they do certain things and how we can support ourselves, and especially if you are in a body that doesn't own a penis, this is this is especially poignant for us because we really don't get the information about our bodies. And
No.
so when things happen and working with pelvic health, like working with people who have endometriosis or who have experienced multiple miscarriages or anything along those lines, the betrayal that they can feel from their body and
Mhm.
what that I mean, like, again, when you think about all of this, if you were being betrayed by your best friend, there would be some pretty big feelings that come against it,
Yes.
right? And
Very true.
and we wouldn't expect you just to sit there and say like, "No, okay, just like, yeah, but I still love
This
them."
is okay.
No.
This is fine.
Yes, like
Everything's fine.
yes, they betrayed you, right? And so and when our bodies are struggling, like Sarah Kate said, if it's chronic pain or autoimmune or multiple miscarriages, right? When something is going on, uh, our bodies are asking for help. Our
Yeah.
bodies are asking for support, and it's, to be honest, up to us to figure out what exactly that is. Now we can have all of the experts around us, but ultimately,
Mhm.
even with all of the experts around us, if we do not know our body, we're not going to know what it needs. And
Yeah.
I wish that we could start our lives knowing that we had this internal wisdom with already within us. We
Mhm.
just need to be taught how to listen to it. We just need to be taught how to check in. We just need to be
Yeah.
taught how to say like, "Okay, I'm gonna take a step back and let my body give me
Mhm.
the guide. Like, give me the signals, give me the messages that I'm supposed to hear right now in order
Yeah.
to help move through this," instead of always going outside of ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah, looking to others to give us our perspective or our direction, in how we're supposed to think, feel, and understand our own bodies.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think, like, from that lens of, like, allowing and respecting, but not love it having to overly love or be bypassingly positive about what our body is. I think that kind of leans itself back towards asking that question of, like, what do I need today? And
totally.
what am I noticing in my body today? For me, with my clients with, like, let's say, chronic migraines, that is an hourly sometimes ask for them. And
Mhm.
again, we work very hard to dismantle this paradigm of, like, oh, I should just be grateful that I have a body, and I should just be, I should just love it. I should just learn to love it, or I should learn to be grateful for what I, do have. And I'm not saying that there isn't a place for gratitude, there isn't a place for acceptance in all of this, but there has to be a permission first to be
Mhm.
honest
Mhm.
about what is there and felt. And this goes beyond, ailments or conditions or, you know,
Totally.
chronic uh systems in our body not working the way that they should, but, like, it's this is, like, how we view it, like, how we
Mhm.
look at it,
Mhm.
how we perceive it in the mirror some days
Mhm.
comparatively to others.
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah.
dismantling that.
Mhm. And I think again, like you've got to get really clear on what your definition of love is,
Yeah.
right? We're not talking about lust. When you're in lust with someone, very different. There's usually not a whole lot of understanding, right? There's usually not a whole lot of room for disagreements,
Mhm.
right? It's just like, no, it's like you're trying to catch this shiny object, right?
Mhm.
Where when you're really in love with someone or with something, understanding, like in my opinion, goes right along with it, right? There's
Yeah.
some hard conversations that happen when you are really in love with someone. And if we're not willing to have those hard conversations with ourselves, like that is the most important relationship that you're going to have. I'm not sure that you're ever going to get to the point where you can say that you love your body.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's, and if that's not the path that you're after, that's fine. But if that is the path you're after, I think it's important to know that it's possible,
Mhm.
that we're not after lust with
Mm-mm.
ourselves. We're after that true, deep, unrelenting love that
Mhm.
doesn't just go away because there's a disagreement, that doesn't go away
Yeah.
because there's a bad day. I have bad body image days. That doesn't mean I'm just gonna abandon my body though,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because I have decided to learn how to deepen my connection with myself, and me saying that doesn't mean that it's easy every day.
Sure.
It's
It's not pretty. It
just
doesn't look pretty
right, and it
necessarily.
yes, and it's just like when people say like, "Okay, loving somebody else is a choice," right? You choose to continue to love them. It's a choice to continue to love yourself also.
Yeah. Something, I love, well, I love the language of choice, first of all, because that's such an incredible way to help shift the trauma paradigm in our own bodies of like, am I choosing today to really be in a kind relationship to my body, or am I choosing today to have some disagreement with it?
Mhm,
Right? Or some detachment from it. Like if I'm or even it could be the choice of if I can't say anything kind about my body today, am I allowed to just disconnect from it?
right.
Right? Like giving ourselves even that playful almost permission to be like, "Oh, okay, then I'm just gonna detach from the story of it and how I'm supposed to view it," rather than being like, "Okay, I have to just love it." And
Yep.
something that I've worked on with my clients is rather than like standing in the mirror and doing all of these, again, a little bit of the toxic positivity side of the accept and embrace and be fine with movement is rather than saying I love my belly and I love my hips and I love my curves and I love whatever it might be that you're, to your point, really more professing a lust for in that moment, or an utter override of how maybe you feel about it. It's just having a relationship to it, so saying, this is my arm, this
Mhm,
is my stomach, these
mhm,
are my glutes,
mhm,
right, these are my arms, like
mhm,
whatever it might be. So like it's it's just kind of helping. Can you be in relationship to something without having it have to have a quality, if
mhm.
that quality isn't gonna serve or support
Right.
you that day?
Right, exactly. Yes. And that is like the whole thing. Like, I'm not gonna, you know, meet whoever on the bus ride home and know two things about this person and say, oh, she's my best friend.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah,
I kind of got to know a little bit more, but I
yeah.
can say things like, okay, I met this person and she was really nice. Right? Like,
Mhm,
it's more like that, like surface level. Right?
mhm,
Saying, these are my arms, this is my nose, this is my stomach. Right?
mhm,
Like, you're just stating facts, right? Like you're just blanket saying this is what it is. You
mhm,
don't have to then we say this all the time too, like we can't go 0 to 100. We just
mm-mm.
can't. And if there was a way, it wouldn't be sustainable.
No.
Like
It would, well, yeah, it wouldn't be something that actually we held as a truth.
it's like building it up from the bottom. You start with those facts, like this is mine. This belongs to me. And then how you move from there is how you care for it, right? Like
Mhm.
how you move into a space where you can get to the point where you are respecting it. And when I say respect, I want to think about like things like this. Like when we respect our body every day, it's that we still are going to nourish it, right? We know we need food and
Yeah.
water to survive. So like if I'm having a bad body image day, I'm still going to respect myself by making sure I drink water.
Mhm.
Like simple things like that. That's what I mean when I say like I'm still gonna respect it. I'm still gonna take a shower if that's what I gotta do that day, right? I'm still gonna like go to sleep at night. Little things like that, like the survival things. That's what I mean by
Yeah.
respecting it.
Well, and that's actually to kind of push that a little further too, like, that's really how we establish a relationship to our
Right.
body, and that's how our body
Mhm.
also learns to trust us.
Mhm.
When we're thirsty and then we drink water, our body's like, oh, she, he, they, them, listen to the cue,
Yep.
right? Like, oh, Sarah's paying attention to the fact that we're hungry. She's
Mhm.
feeding. Or
Mhm.
Sarah's paying attention to the fact that we're tired. She laid down.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
And that is helping our body learn to trust us
Mhm.
and respect us
Yeah.
equally so as
Mhm.
then we also then learn, like, oh wow, I did feel better after I laid down. Oh, I do have more energy after I ate something,
Yeah.
right? Like us acknowledging our body when it is supporting us in certain ways. So it starts to build, to your point, when you kind of were speaking at the very beginning of the podcast, it's like if we don't have a relationship to it, if we don't know it, if we don't understand it, then it is hard to love it. It is hard to know it. It is hard to take care of it in a way. And so these little moments of listening and these little moments of just even focusing on the nourishment piece, right,
Yeah. Yeah,
is
totally.
such an incredible relationship builder. It's a
Yeah.
building blocks, right? So that
Yeah.
way, when those bigger things do come up, we can say, I really do love the way that my body takes care of me here.
Mhm.
I've learned in some ways, crazily enough, I have learned to love my anxiety.
Mhm.
But I've learned to love it because I've learned how to take care of it
Right.
and support myself when I'm having it. So
Right.
now it doesn't get to like run the show, but
Right.
when it comes in, I'm like, oh, I'm paying attention.
Yep. Something's
Uh,
going on that needs. Yep.
Something's going on, and
Mhm.
my body is alerting me that something is going on, and now I can do something about it.
Yeah.
Right. But like for so long, I just hated it.
Yeah.
And
For
which made
sure.
me hate my body. I'm like, why is my body fucking reacting this way? This is so
Yeah.
annoying. I hate this. I hate how I feel right now, right? Like I would have that kind of rhetoric rolling through my head
Yeah.
until exploring and understanding and building that relationship. And like you said, it's not pretty. There are still absolutely days that there is a broken down dynamic between me and my body. And
Mhm.
especially, rounding the river bend to 40, I'm like, aches and pains and I sleep wrong. I sleep on a different pillow and my neck's like,
Yeah.
can't move for a week.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and okay, I wanna, like, highlight because you mentioned the trust that's built, like, okay, she listened to me when I was thirsty. Like, these things aren't always easy, but they can be simple. We can
Mhm.
simplify the
Yes.
ways that we build trust in ourselves, and that I feel like is just very different than what we get often out in the real world. Like, I think
Mhm.
we get a lot of messages that it has to be that it's so much more complex, or we have to make these big, huge, great, I don't know, life-changing decisions every single day and these huge declarations where that takes because that's how we are, especially in this culture. It's like go big or go home.
Yeah.
It's like
The
the
more.
in your face all the time, but it doesn't that to me, again, that's like trying to go 0 to 100. Those types of things aren't sustainable.
Mhm.
Have to just peel everything back and start at the ground level of, okay, I'm just gonna give myself some water, right?
Yep.
And then it becomes then we don't even have to like we talked about, like Sarah Kate said earlier, then we don't have to attach anything to it. It's
Mm.
just, no, today my decision is to give myself some whatever it
Mhm.
is, you know?
Mhm.
But that is for a lot of people, I find a new way of thinking about it. And
Yeah.
oftentimes when I say that, I'm like, okay, create 3 things for your day. Today is the day you're gonna drink enough water and you're gonna put the dishes in the dishwasher and you're
Mhm.
gonna take a shower. Okay. That's it.
Yeah, I love
Right?
it.
Like
Yep. Yep.
those are the 3 things that you're gonna do to because you have this big long list, right? It's like, but we don't get those messages that it could be simple, but and not confuse it with being easy.
Yeah. And I think to your point, Ashley, like if we not oversimplify, if we make it harder, I don't know what the opposite, I couldn't figure it out in my head. If we make it harder, it can cast us really quickly into the arena of shame, right?
Mhm.
Because if we make it harder, if we make it too heavy of a lift, then
Mhm.
we are gonna tip back into, "Well, see, I knew I wouldn't take care of myself. Oh,
Yep.
see, I knew
Yep.
I didn't really believe those mantras I had kept saying," right?
Yep.
Like, it is so easy for us to then get stalled again or go into freeze or go into complete dissociation from our body
Yeah.
because we're not doing everything we said we were going to or loving it the way we said we were going to.
Yeah. And, another thing that's just like, so we all have those things
Mhm.
where, so for me, one of the things is exercise. I can be really healthy with exercise and I can also be really unhealthy with exercise? And so when I'm thinking about like how I'm going to love my body, it really become in terms of that, it becomes really like, no, how am I going to respect how my body is feeling
Mhm.
and not force myself? Because again, if we go to the messages that we see out there, you could make an argument for any kind of exercise modality it is, why it's the best thing in the entire
Yeah.
world. It's the only type of exercise that you should do, right?
Yeah.
Everybody will have an argument for every different form. And if we aren't willing to ask ourselves what feels good, we're gonna miss the mark every single time. And what that is gonna do is then pile on the shame, like Sara Cate just said, because then I'm a failure because I was supposed to go to the
Do
gym
it.
4 days a week because that's what blah 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 blah, right? Like that it's nonsense. It just
Uh-huh.
clouds our vision for what's actually going on in our bodies and in our life.
Yeah. Yeah, and it removes us from the conversation if we say I have to do this because or
Mhm.
being healthy means I have to exercise this way this many times a week because that's what we see on all of these, Instagram, TikTok posts, these internet quarterbacks in some ways of trying to tell people what to do and how to do it when really rather than helping people just redirecting them back to asking their own body what they need. It's giving you a protocol. It's giving you
Mhm.
a story about what is right and what is wrong.
Mhm.
And it diminishes this dynamic that we have with ourselves in
Mhm.
so many ways because we're not asking, then we're not engaging. Then we're
Right,
like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do rather than being like, do I feel that? Do I want that? Is that actually healthy for me?
right.
There's at this juncture of my life, there's some exercise that is not healthy for me
Yep.
anymore.
Yeah.
And if I got swept up in the story of what it's supposed to look like, I could hurt myself. I could actually
Mhm.
injure myself. So there is some there is some really, really important um internal conversations that get to happen here in
Mhm.
order to debunk and dispel anything that says other than anything that moves us away from asking, "Hey body, what do you need?
Mhm. And
Where are you at
I
today? Where are
you
we
know,
at?"
totally, and one of my favorite things about working with the clients that I work with is when they start to understand how to make their own protocol, because using the example of exercise again, right? If you're trying to go from not and doing any movement to 4 days a week, it for some people that works really well. Some people it really does. And for some people it really doesn't. But watching them understand, you know what actually I figured out is that if I do yoga on Monday and Wednesday and I go for a run on Friday, I have the best week and I'm so much more energized. And
Yeah.
sometimes on Sunday, I throw in like a high intensity class because I go with my friends and it's incredible. And then they get excited about what they're doing. And then they get excited about asking their
Yeah.
body, what do you want to do this week? Do you want to go to the same yoga class? Do you want to try a different teacher? Your options expand. You just expand is the word. Like it's just
Yeah.
so much more expansive. It doesn't
Yep.
have to be so constrictive. But
Mhm.
again, until we ask the questions, until we know our body, we're going to fight to figure that out forever.
Mhm. Yeah, or we're just not we're going to continue to stay in a level of disconnect that
Yeah,
pushes us further and further away
for sure.
from what it is that we really need. And so I think the beauty in having a conversation like this brings hopefully Ashley and I are, voices in a sea of stories and narratives that tell you to look towards other things and look outside of yourself. And we're just nudging you and reminding you like you actually have what you need internally. You just have to start the conversation.
Yeah.
and start to ask and start to notice, like, when I did listen to my body, what happened? When I
Mhm.
didn't listen to my body, what happened? There's actually
Mhm.
no shame there in not listening. It's just,
Mhm.
wow, how can I pay attention to what worked and what didn't in that?
Totally.
And how maybe it depleted me more than I want to be depleted when I do X, Y, or Z. For me, it's working another layer of this for me and my body is working my social um interactions,
Mm.
because being in the climate we are in right now in the world and how much what's happening is weighing on people so heavily. I have really, really, really little social energy and social battery left during the week. And there is an old version of me that would push and be like, no, you need to do this. And no, you need to be there. And no, you need to show up. And da 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 da. And I've just started listening. And there's this sweet little voice in me that's like, we want to be in bed at 6:45.
And listen, folks, really is in bed at 6:45.
You literally called me the other night, and it was 8:30 my time, and because of that, knowing, obviously we're in different time zones, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's so late there." I was like, "Something must be wrong," and I had been sleeping, but I saw her name, and I was like, "Oh, are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I was just calling to check in and make sure we're on for Friday," and I was like, "It's 10:30 there." And she's
Well, in my
like, "What
defense,
were
I
you
was really
doing?"
trying to get some things done.
I was like, "Why?" I was sleeping. Why aren't you in bed? I literally am in bed at the
Mhm.
earliest possible moment I possibly can be. And I need that. I
Yeah,
need it for my weeks,
yeah,
and I need it for my clients, and I need
yeah.
it for myself, and my body needs that rest. And so regardless of, how antisocial that is making me right now, it is the reality of what my system is asking for.
Mhm.
And sometimes, and here's the perfect segue back into that, actually, sometimes I don't like that.
Yeah,
I have to sit with that discomfort of being like, I can't show up to that thing.
yeah.
I have to say no to that person, and they're probably gonna be sad about that, and I hate how letting people down. Ugh, that feels so gross in my system, and I'm also listening to my body, and my body is like, "We cannot be in the world right now."
Yep. And, in reality and I've watched Sarah Kate navigate this path, and it's
Yeah.
amazing because I've seen her kind of, like, completely transform this.
Mhm.
And the people in her life, if she needs a moment of rest or pause and she needs to reschedule, they just love her for listening to herself. I
Mhm.
love it when Sarah Kate says, "I gotta reschedule," which often
It
still is.
is, we've had
We
to.
have we have we have, yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, and, it's like, yes, I love you for listening to your body and taking care. And
Yeah.
as, friends to other people, that's a place of encouragement that I think we could all do
Yes.
better on, is saying,
Yes.
like, and I try to do this, I don't do it all the time, but I try to acknowledge that they're listening to themselves. Like, I'm
Mhm.
happy y sure, would I love to see Sarah Kate every single day of my life? 100%. But, like, if she's gotta take care of herself, my main concern is that she's okay.
Mhm.
Like, everything else is a cherry on top when I get to see her, but, like, if she's not
Yeah,
taking care of herself, that's what I want for her. I want
yeah.
for her to be loving and respecting where
Mhm.
she's at, and as friends, I think we can encourage.
100%. We get to, yeah, we get to build this into our communities, right? Like,
Yeah.
like into our social cultures if we want
Mhm.
to, of just like, "Hey, I can see you're wavering on that. What do you feel like ask your body what you really feel like you need, or just kind of maybe sit with it for a little while and then get back to me in a few hours
Yeah.
and see where you're at." Like, I
Think
just
oh,
because there is a language, like, where people are like, it's so respectful when people cancel plans. And I understand that to certain people, time is currency in a way that feels really important. And if you're not making time, yes. And if you're canceling habitually on one person, then maybe look at not scheduling with that
right.
person.
Right, 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 right,
But
right.
I
Yes.
do think that there is rather than personalizing it, really
Mhm.
asking, like, man, and naming, like, I really miss you. I really want to see you. And you need to take care of yourself as well.
Yeah.
Right. And being
Yeah.
able to have those kinds of conversations, especially just right now when
Mhm.
we have added layers of overwhelm coming
Mhm.
in.
Yeah, totally. Even listening to the cues that other people are saying, I
Mhm.
find that it's helpful to hear like what other people are saying and then using that as like, huh, I wonder if I say that, right? Like, cause it's like, if I'm hearing Sarah
Yeah,
Kate tell me about an event, this is just like an example. If I'm hearing her tell me about an event and she's sounding really like drained about it already and it's not even the day of,
hasn't even happened.
what I could say to her is, "How are you actually feeling about going? Is this something really that's gonna, like, serve you?" Because and me being that little piece of encouragement, because if it's not, that's okay, right?
Mhm,
And then it's like, "Oh, okay, I notice these things in other people. Where do I do that?" Like, you can kinda
mhm.
then use that as like, "Huh, I wonder where that's true in my life," right? And then she can do
Yeah.
the same for me if she's hearing me say what she has.
Mhm.
And then she'll say like, "It's okay, you don't have to do that." And I'm like, "Oh,
Oh, you're right, I don't.
what a thing."
And vice versa, and I think, the more that we also use that language, and
Mhm,
for me, when I say I'm really recognizing that I get overwhelmed and stressed and depleted in these environments, so I'm gonna start limiting or minimizing the amount of time I'm spending there, or
mhm,
this style of exercise, or this style of engagement is just kind of, I'm recognizing that I need to do it a few minutes less than every week or something along those lines. For instance, like Instagram or whatever. It can help support and also bring in conversation to
mhm.
solidify my choice too.
Yeah,
When people say, "Oh, really? What do you notice when you're feeling X, Y, or Z?" And I can say,
yeah,
"Oh, yeah, it like literally turns my brain on so high so much that after 20 minutes I'm depleted."
yeah.
Right? And then it's like then it's a conversation. And I just think normalizing not being always loving and over the moon about our bodies and our beings and what's happening,
Mhm,
being honest about what is, and then building a relationship to like caring and taking care of that
mhm,
respect piece that Ashley was talking about. You don't always like someone when you do deeply love them, and or you don't like someone's behaviors when you deeply love them. That's that kind of same approach to take towards our own systems. And then if we have a wider community that encourages that, or also starts to help us say, maybe check in with yourself and let me know in a few hours, kind of thing.
yeah,
If we're always pointing people back to themselves, it's so much easier to not personalize
mhm,
what what we're feeling about what they tell us, because we're like, oh no, you looked at your body, it wasn't about me.
mhm.
Right.
Yes, 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 yes.
So,
Um,
darling, do you have a card in front of you?
I sure do.
Oh,
I have the ostrich card, same deck that we used in the first couple episodes, linked in the
I
show
love
notes.
ostriches. I love watching them run. They're hilarious.
They really are.
They're fast too, man.
They're very fast. They're very fast. Okay,
Okay. What's
so
the medicine?
here's what the card says. Clear your energy field and clean your physical space. Get rid of the old to make room for the new. Ostrich is here to remind you that in order to create something new in your life, you need to make space for it. Now is the time to get rid of all the things which no longer serve you. Let go of jobs, relationships, material possessions, and thoughts which are no longer needed. Clean up your physical space and remove excess clutter. It's time to simplify and only hold on to the things that are bringing you joy and serving your highest and best good.
Mm.
When you are ready to create something new in your life, let Ostrich guide you. Release any limiting beliefs and clear your energy field. It is important to attract what we want from a healed place rather than from a wounded place. Make sure you are doing the work necessary to continue growing and upgrading rather than repeating the same experiences over again.
Oh my gosh. Relevant. Well,
Relevant.
the simplify
I
and
know. I know.
just like those patterns that don't serve us, right? Of like, I either have to love my body or I absolutely hate it,
Mhm.
right? Like moving away from that rigidity
Mhm.
into flexibility of like, what actually is for me? What do
Yeah.
I actually need? Like
Yeah.
clearing the clutter of other people's narratives and protocols
Mhm.
and stories, and removing that and coming back towards self more.
Well, yeah, and that's what it is. It's just clutter. It's clutter that we've filled our brains with and decluttering in this space is like decluttering the opinions and
Yeah.
the ways we're, quote, "supposed to do things," and just returning to, like, the simplest question of what does my body feel?
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That was
Lovely.
so good. Thanks for
Sweet.
pulling that card, Ashley.
Yeah.
And so always, hopefully this is again just another supportive reminder to start to establish or reestablish, renew a relationship with your body and perhaps what you need and how you need it, or asking maybe new questions you've never asked before.
Yeah.
But helping yourself not have to be toxically positive about
Yes.
how it all goes.
Yes. So if this resonates, please share it with somebody who you might think also benefit, like, subscribe, all the things.
All the things.
And as always, take care of yourselves. Maybe think about what truly loving yourself actually means, not lusting yourself.
Mhm.
That, like, deeper love. Um yeah, and maybe you make space for a little something new.
Yeah. Love that.
All right.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.